Hello. Hello everybody, I'm Magikarp Usefly, and today I wanted to talk about something that I see a lot in 40K content, and especially like some of the 40K stuff that I've been making, where people say this. They say that the game is a game of chance and luck. It's all luck based, and how can there be a competitive scene when the game is just based around luck? And to an extent, they are correct. I mean, obviously this is a dice game, so you know, you're rolling like all these fucking dice, right? But then, oh my God, there's so much. And so there is a little bit of luck and there's a little bit of chance in the game, but it's not about that luck. It's about mitigating your luck. It's about mitigating the amount of failure that you have. Think of it kind of like auto chess, okay? In auto chess games, there are times when you can roll down in order to get a higher percentage chance of getting a certain character. There's lots of different team comps that you can make on the fly. There's lots of different ways to mitigate your chances. Going to a carousel, picking up a certain item. And that's kind of like 40K. It's all about mitigating your chance of failure. It's all about mitigating your chance of luck. And in fact, the RNG in the game actually really isn't even that high. So basically what I want to do with this video is try to show you guys a little bit of some math, a little bit of some synergies, a little bit of some strategies that you can do, and kind of show you guys that it's not a game that's based around just luck. So this video is meant for people that are trying to get into 40K, people who are like 40K curious, and you know, they kind of want to understand how the competitive side or the competitive aspect of 40K works. You know, these are for those people. And if you already know how to play 40K, but you don't know a lot about Math Hammer, you're kind of confused about 9th edition and how to play it and how to play it effectively, then go ahead and keep watching this video and share it with your friends and all that good stuff, because the YouTube algorithm can eat my fucking ass. And so to start off, 40K comes down to just three. The fuck is wrong with me? 40K comes down to strategy, math, and efficiency. So the first thing that we're gonna look at is going to be strategy. Okay, so before we even touch any of the dice, the way that 40K is played is by playing with these things called objective markers, which are these guys. It's these things right here. And these objective markers are what's gonna score you victory points. And victory points is how you win the game. At max, you can get a total of 100 victory points. And these objective markers are how you kind of get to a large majority of that. So in order to score points in the game, you have to have an objective marker, and then you have to have models within 3 inches of that objective marker. So if you're right here, that means that you successfully captured it, and then you get 5 points. Controlling one of these gives you 5 points, controlling 2 of them gives you 10 points, and controlling 3 of them gives you a total of 15 points. And you can get a maximum of 15 points per turn. These are called your primary points. Also, by the way, if you don't want to do this thing where you have to measure 3 inches to get to this objective, it can kind of be a little bit of a pain in the ass. You can buy these from 3D6 Wargaming. Not sponsored, by the way, but look at this. This is so cool. It's a Neoprene Mat. Instead of having this marker right here, you just say fuck it, and then you just put this down instead. And as long as your character is touching the Neoprene Mat, you know that you scored an objective. So, you know, fucking if 3D6 Wargaming wants you know, hit me up, man. I am willing. We will make this into merchandise. It will be sick. I could put my face on it like this. So the game isn't dependent on tabling your opponent. In fact, you can win the game by not even killing a single unit. You can win the game, you know, you can have all of your units shot off the board and you can still win. It's all about playing the objective and getting the most amount of victory points. And if all your models are painted, you get 10 points automatically. That's like, you're like basically 10% of your way there to winning. It's a stupid roll. So now this is called your primary objective. However, there is something called secondaries, and that opens up so much more possibilities of how you can win the game. So your secondary objectives are basically based off of this guy right here. This is called the chapter approved grand tournament. Now there's also stuff in Eternal War that has secondaries as well, you know, inside the big core, big ass rule book. But I actually really enjoy the grand tournament rules just because they're really, really good. So in it, you have all these secondaries, right? And in these secondaries, you can basically choose one from each category. And so you can choose something like engage on all fronts. You can choose something like grind them down. You can choose something like bring it down. You choose 3 of them and you can score a maximum of 15 points for each one of them, giving you a maximum of 45 points, plus the 10 points from being all the way painted, and your primary points, that's a max total of 100 points. But you're using these secondaries in order to try and win the game. You want to build an army based around these secondaries, so then that way, before you even start the game, before you even roll your first dice, before you even like put any models on the field, you need to think about your secondary objectives, because this is how you're going to play the game. This is where the strategy comes in. So before you even start to roll any dice, you're creating a list with a game plan. Like think about in LCS when they're creating a team comp, right? When you're creating this team comp, you have these certain win conditions, and you get to those win conditions if you play well, if you follow those win conditions, and if your players do well together, right? And that's kind of like the same thing here. You're basically trying to create a team comp of models. You're trying to create a roster of models where you have certain win conditions that you can choose yourself. And that way, when you're playing, it doesn't matter who you're going up against. It doesn't matter what you're fighting against. You have the specific game plan and the specific win condition that you can play in order to win the game. Now, at first glance, the Lictor is absolutely god-awful. It is just, it's a terrible unit. It can't shoot, it can't, when it gets into melee combat, its melee combat's really bad. All in all, it's a terrible character. It's a terrible model. But he only costs 37 points. And since his keyword is infantry and he's not a character, that means that he can perform an action. And one of the actions that he wants to perform is deploy scramblers. In order to get the points off of deploy scramblers, you need to have a unit that does the action inside of your deployment zone, inside the middle of the battlefield, and then once inside of your enemy's deployment zone. If you do all 3 of those, then you get 10 points. Now, since this guy's only 37 points and he has this ability where he can deep strike, what that means is that you can perform this action more reliably with this guy. This is how you're going to get your 10 points. You just take some of your infantry inside of your deployment zone, you have them do deploy scramblers, boom, that's 1/3 of the way there. Then on the next turn, you maybe have another unit inside of the middle of the battlefield, boom, that's another point. And then the hardest one, which is getting this inside of your opponent's deployment zone, you could just drop this guy anywhere from outside of 9 inches of an enemy unit. So let's say that this guy's right here. We just put the person just right here, and then boom, pop him down. He's only 1 model, so it's hard for people to screen against him, and his base is relatively small. So you just pop him down and boom, you have your other deploy scramblers giving you an automatic 10 points. Even though this guy is probably just a terrible model, GW, please just make him a little bit cooler. Even though he's not that great, he provides you with the points that you need in order to win the game. And that's kind of how you create this game plan in order to win the game, but it gets a lot more intricate than that. Now you can build your list, come up with a game plan on how you're going to score your points. You can come up with a game plan of how you're going to make it so then you can have all of your people. Why are there so many fucking problems with this list? Now you can come up with a lot of different ways for your game plan to work. However, you have to also understand that your opponent also has his game plan. So yeah, you can bring like 5 vehicles, but when you do that, then you have to take into account that you're letting your opponent pick a secondary where they can get an easy 15 points. You know, if you take 5 vehicles, that's 15 points of bring it down. That, you know, that's 12 points of thin their ranks. You have all of these different ways that you have to try to mitigate the way that your opponent scores off of you and the way that you score your secondaries off of your opponent. And that's just more strategy. You have to create this list that both scores you secondary objectives, but then also denies your opponent secondary objectives. So then you're not just giving them free points. And so that's why it's so interesting making different types of lists, playing all these different ways, finding different ways to run your armies. So then you can kind of mitigate the way that your opponent scores while at the same time creating more opportunity for you to get more victory points. And that's the strategy. Now, pairing with the strategy, let's do some math. Let's do math. So in the game, you have like these stat lines, right? Your movement can be 12 inches. Your ballistic skill can be 3 up. Weapon skill can be 4 up. Strength can be fucking 7. In the game, you'll have like a stat line like this. If you look like at a data sheet, it'll look something like this at the top of a model's data sheet. So in order to play the game, you need to roll certain numbers, right? So like, let's say that your ballistic skill is a 3 or higher. Basically, whenever it has like this plus number, that just means 3 and higher. So you need to roll any one of those 4 numbers. That will mean that you successfully hit something. So let's say that you have a worse ballistic skill. Let's say that it's a 5 up, like a 5 or higher. That means the only way that you can hit something is if you roll a 5 or 6. So going from 3, 4, 5, and 6, you're vastly decreasing the amount of successful times that you can actually hit something. And so remember that this game is all about mitigating those chances. It's all about trying to take your luck and mitigating it so then you have a better chance of successfully doing something. And with stuff like rerolls and +1 to hit and hit modifiers, there's a bunch of different ways that you can manipulate these numbers in order to give you a better outcome. And the best way that I can kind of describe this is with an exocrine. Okay, so an exocrine stat line looks like this, okay? All this, fuck it, fuck that, and fuck that. We only care about this. In fact, we don't even care about this. We just care about this number right here. Ballistic skill of 4 or higher. The exocrine has a weapon. I just don't know what it's called. It's like bioplasma dick gun or something like that. So it has a gun called a bioplasmic cannon, and the bioplasmic cannon is a heavy 6. What that means is that it can shoot its gun 6 times. Because it's shooting its gun 6 times, that means that in order for it to successfully hit, you have to roll 6 dice. And for every dice that is a 4 or higher is a successful hit. So in order to get a 4 or higher, you need to roll a 4, 5, or 6. So that means that out of 6 shots, 1/2 of that would equal 3. At minimum, on average, you should be gaining about 6 hits. And that doesn't sound very good. In fact, that sounds fucking awful. It sounds like you have a 50% chance of it hitting 3 times. It's not until you start adding in different ways that it can increase that value that it becomes a lot more reliable. So the first thing that we want to look at is that an exocrine has an ability called Weapon Blast. And that ability means that you can shoot its weapon twice. That means that instead of heavy 6, we're actually getting a heavy 12. But still, heavy 12 times 1/2 would still equal 6 shots. It's still a 50% chance, but it's just a little bit better. But we can make it even better. When you look at it, it's another ability that it has called Symbiotic Targeting. What it means is that if it doesn't move, then it gains add 1 to your hit roll. So your 5s now become a 6, your 6s now become a 7, your 4s now become a 5, and your 3s now become a 4, which is your ballistic skill. Now, instead of only hitting on 4s, you're hitting on 3s. This increases your chance in order to hit. Now you're hitting on 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s. 4 out of 6, you now have a 67% chance of your hits successfully going through. Looking at your heavy number, which is 12, 12 times 2 over 3 would equal to about 8 shots. That makes it a lot better because now we're going from 3 shots all the way over to 8 shots. But we can make it even better. So if you put an exocrine inside of the Chronos detachment for Tyranids, you get to re-roll all of your hit rolls of 1. Anytime that you roll a 3, 4, 5, or 6 is a successful hit. However, if you were to also roll a 1, you have a chance to re-roll that 1 into a 3, 4, 5, or 6. So out of 12 dice, let's do some math. With being in Chronos where you get to re-roll 1s out of 12 dice, now that means that 1/6 of those should be a 1. So out of the 1/6 chance, multiplying that by the 2/3 chance that we would get by re-rolling that 1 dice into a 3 or higher, and then we add that to our already 2/3 chance of our 12 dice becoming a 3 or higher, that would make it about a 7 out of 9 chance, or 78%. So we have about a 78% chance of our 12 dice hitting. So 12 times 78% would be about 9 dice, like 9.9 something like 36 or some shit. 9 out of the 12 dice that we're rolling with re-rolling ones would be a 3 or higher. But we can make it even better. We can also add in the Psychic Power Symbio Storm, where you would get exploding 6s. And what that means is that every time that you would roll a dice and you roll a 6, that means that instead of it counting as 1 shot, it actually counts as 2 shots. But because we are adding +1 to our hit roll, that means that our 5s become 6s and our 6s become 7s. So instead of us just only getting exploding 6s, we're actually getting exploding 5s and higher. Every time we roll a 5 or a 6, we would get 2 extra shots. That means that we have a 1/3 chance of our dices granting us extra hits. So to math that out, this is annoying. We have a 2/3 chance of our 12 dice being 3 or higher, right? And then we add on to that our 1/6 chance times 2/3 chance for re-rolling ones. And then we add on to that our 1/3 chance of it being a 5 or higher. That becomes 10 out of 9. So 10 out of 9 is 111%. That means that out of the 12 dice, we should be getting, on average, a net total of 13 hits for the exocrine. Now, this is coming from the 3 that we originally had, and that's what I'm talking about when it comes to math, right? You want to mitigate your chances by adding in all these different rules in order to make your luck kind of dissipate. So let's roll some dice. Let's roll some dice. Let's test this out. Let's take our 12 dice. 3, 6, 9, 12. And now we're gonna be rolling to see if we hit. So 3 dice, all ones are re-rolling. We're looking for 13. So these 2 dice, statistically, okay, there we go. And now any 5s or 6s would grant us extra hits. 1, 2, 3. So we're adding in 3 more dice. So in total, we've gone from 3, 6, 9, 12 to 13 hits. Now let's try that one more time. Let's see if this math actually adds up. 12 dice, re-rolling, all ones, 2s get taken out. All of these are hits. This one we are re-rolling. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So we get 4 extra shots. Boom, 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 hits. So what we did was that we went from just only hitting 3 times to now hitting a grand total of 13 on average. And if it becomes even more than that, that's good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's 7 extra shots. But on average, at least, we should be getting at least about 13. As long as you are mitigating these chances, then you just have a higher percentage of things working out in your favor. Next, let's talk about efficiency. Efficiency! So now you want to make the most efficient attacks as you possibly can. You don't want to just be shooting at stuff for the sake of shooting at it. You want to have like an actual reason and to be the most efficient when you're shooting at specific targets. When you're able to choose and decide what's a good target for your units to shoot at, you're increasing your efficiency. You have to pick the right units to fight the correct ones. And so we're gonna use Harlequin troops in order to kind of describe what I'm talking about. So let's say that we have 5 troops with a troop master fighting an MSU or minimum sized unit of Marines. Troops have a strength of 3 and a weapon skill of 3 up. A Marine has a toughness of 4, 2 wounds, and saves on 3s or higher. So let's try to see what would be more efficient, either attacking that unit with caresses or attacking that unit with kisses. Now, at first glance, you might be thinking that maybe the caress might be better because you are increasing your strength by 3, which means that you'd be wounding this guy on 3s. So you're hitting, so these guys would be hitting on 3s, they'd be wounding on 3s, and they'd be making them take a save of a 5 or higher. This one, they are hitting on 3s, they are wounding on 4s because their strength would match their toughness, and they're only saving on 4s or higher. So let's see which one will be better. All right, so we have 20 attacks from troops. Now they need to hit on a 3 or higher. So since we already know that a 3 or higher is a 2/3 chance, we're hitting them 2/3 times. So that would mean that about like 13 attacks would go through. We need to then wound on 2/3 chance, which would then equal that out of those 13 dice, about 8.88, but we'll just say that it's about 8 of them go through. However, because we're using the Troop Master right here, who gives us an aura to reroll failed wound rolls, so out of the 2/3 that hit, about 1/3 of those should miss. Now 1/3 times 2/3 equals about 22%. So adding 22% onto 2/3, which would be 67%, we are getting on average on our wound rolls, 89% of the dice should be a 3 or higher. That should mean that about 11 of them should successfully wound our target. Now, out of that 11%, a Marine has to save on a 3 or higher, but because we have -2 AP on a Caress, they actually have to save on a 5 or higher. So out of that 11, they need to make a 5 or 6. They need to roll a 5 or a 6. Now that's 1/3 chance. So 11 times 1/3 would equate to about 36% of them should be saved, which equates to probably about like 4 dice, which means that 11 minus 4 would give us 7 that would go through. Now 7 damage, they are all 2 wounds each, so that would mean that about 3.5 models would die. That's okay, a minimum squad of Marines is 5, so it doesn't quite kill them, okay? Which means that we're not being efficient with our attack. Now let's do the math, but for a kiss. So 13 dice, re-rolling fails. Now our wound rolls for a kiss, since we have a strength of 4 and they have a toughness of 4, that means that we are wounding them on 4s or higher. That means that our percentage is 1/2. 1/2 of 13 is about 6.5. Okay, out of that, we're re-rolling failed wound rolls, right? Because of the Troop Master. So because of the Troop Master, we have 1/2 that failed multiplied by another 1/2, which should equal 25%. You know, we have a 50% chance, and then we add that onto the 25, that should be a 75% success rate. So 9 go through. Yes. Which means that this is less than what we would be doing with the Caress. A Caress gave us about 11 that went through. Not only that, but they're also saving on a better number. In fact, they're saving on 4 ups. That means that they have a 50% chance of these 9s being saved, right? So we'll do 4 and 1/2. And then we'll just round it up to 5. So it could be like on a good day 4, on a bad day 5, doesn't matter. So we'll say 4 or 5. However, because the damage that we're dealing is D3, now a D3 damage, that means that you take whatever you roll on a dice and you divide it by 2. In order to become 2 wounds, in order to kill off a Marine, we need to hit a 3 or higher. Again, that's 67% chance. So we have a 67% chance out of these dice right here to completely just kill a Marine. So we should be statistically killing about 3 to 5 models, or 3 to 4. Now it'd probably go up to about like a 4 to 5 if we actually put in decimals on everything instead of just rounding up. But we'll say about like 4 or 5 models we'll kill, which is still better than the Caress, which we were killing about 3.5. This one we should at least be killing about maybe 4 or 5. Even though they're taking less saves with a kiss, statistically it's better for us to use this kiss against the Marine, just give them a nice little smoochy woochie, is statistically better than us hitting them with a Caress, because we have a higher chance of them just outright killing an entire model. Ugh. Okay, let's roll some dice. Oh God, okay. So, let's do some more math. So we have 20 dice here, and first we'll test the Caresses. Okay, so 20 dice. We are hitting on 3s. Statistically, 13 of these should hit. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14 hit. Now wounding on 3s and re-rolling all fails. Looking for 3s or higher. Okay, now all these on 5s. So 1, 2, saves 3 of them. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 that die. Okay, so we're about hitting around the average area. Rolling a little bit hot, which means that you know, luck is a little bit on our side, but statistically, it shouldn't kill off an entire unit. Okay, so now let's try it with the kisses. Okay, so with this one, we're looking for 3s to hit, not rerolling anything. Statistically, 13 of them should go through. 20 minus 4, that is 16 that went through, so we're above average. Now we're wounding on 4s, rerolling all fails. Wounding on 4s, rerolling all fails here. So all those go through, and then wounding on fail, see here. Okay, let's see, we got 4, 8, 12, 13 that wounded. Now out of these 13, they should statistically save about half of these. That one's not 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They did not do a very good job. Now with the caress, that would kill 4 units. But because we're using kisses, these are D3s. So each one of these rolls should be a 67% chance of it being a 3 or higher. That's 1. So that would be a 2 damage. Another 2 damage. This is 1 damage. Another 2 damage. That's 3 dead ones so far. 3 dead Marines. 4 dead Marines. 5 dead Marines. And then there we go. 1 and 2. So we successfully killed off an entire squad right here. But yeah, it's about the efficiency of the amount of attacks that you're doing, how many attacks you're doing. It doesn't matter. It's all about efficiency and choosing the right targets that you want to attack with in order to get the most bang for your buck out of your units. And you have to put all of these together. You have to put the math, you have to put the strategy, you have to put the efficiency, all of them together in order for it to work out. You have to put all 3 of those together in order to create a good game plan in order to play Warhammer 40K. It's a lot of information. I know. Wow. Yeah, so the game has elements of RNG in it, but it's not based solely on luck and chance. However, it is about mitigating all of your luck. It's about mitigating those parts where there is RNG and trying to make it as small as humanly possible in order to be the most efficient. And that's kind of like the math around 40K. I hope that you guys enjoy it. There's just a little bit of some math hammer, a little bit of some strategy, a little bit of some fuck ups, but that's generally how you play 40K. If you guys like this video, make sure that you guys give it a thumbs up, make sure that you guys press the subscribe button, share it with your friends, and if you guys like this type of 40K content, you can go ahead and check out our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/dicecheck, where we play live battle reports, and that's also where we're gonna be doing the tournament on the 21st of November. It is very exciting, it's gonna be so much fun, so go ahead and check that out, give us a follow there, give us a like, and subscribe here, and then soon, the second channel will be releasing. Wow! That's it for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Squeeze.